Hi everyone. So Merry Christmas. This is Christmas Eve. Happy holidays. And I'm meeting with my very good friends, evolutionary astrologer Adrienne Gibson from Just Green Astrology, and we're going to chat about full moon in Cancer for you. So welcome, Adrienne.
Yeah,
Nice to have you
thank you,
back.
Mila. I'm glad to be here. Merry Christmas, everyone. Christmas Eve. Um, yeah, this is some intensity. I'm wondering who else is feeling it. It's been pretty intense for me so far.
It's been very busy week astrologically, the one we just ended, and this one, which is the last one, last week of 2023, it's very busy astrologically as well. So I feel that probably a lot of people are tapping into these energies of continuous motions.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, today when we're recording this, we just had Mercury moving back into Sagittarius yesterday. Today is the
yep.
sextile. And recently we had the Venus opposition to Uranus. So I'm sure that many more things were brought up to the surface that might rattle us.
Yeah. It's been a rough couple of days for me, and just now realizing, oh, a lot of it has to do with this new moon energy. So I think I feel it a little bit before it comes.
Oh, for sure, because you have your natal moon in Pisces and I have
Yeah,
my Cancer, so I can always feel the moons. And this one, it's like it's the opposition to the new moon where the nodes shifted, because it was right after the new moon in Cancer on July 17th when we had the nodal
you're
shift.
right.
Now is the illumination of what we learned in this past 5.5 months. So
Phew.
it is quite a lot to integrate, I feel.
Yeah, sure is. I'm not even really sure what I'm integrating, but something. A lot of emotions. That
Well,
is
it's
for sure.
Cancer and it's Capricorn season.
Yeah, yeah. So shall I bring up the chart?
Let's do it. Let's
Get
hear what
started.
the chart wants to tell us today.
All right. And there we are.
Here we are. It is the full moon in Cancer.
Full moon in Cancer, yes. Ooh, you want to start today?
Yeah, can do. So this is
Jump right
Eastern
in.
time. This is Eastern time. Eastern time. It's just past 7:30 in the evening on Boxing Day, December 26th. We know for folks in Europe, and then further away in Asia, Australia, New Zealand, and all that beautiful places. It's going to be actually on December 27th, but for me here in Mexico, it's also on the 26th, 1 hour before you in Eastern. And yeah, it's a lot going on. We still have all this conjunction with the Sun, the Mercury and Mars in a closing phase conjunctions. And as I mentioned, Mercury is back now in the sign of Sagittarius, and actually exact Mercury and Mars conjunction, I believe, is happening right after the day later, which is going to culminate a cycle that actually began between Mars and Mercury right after the last eclipse in Taurus, which I find fascinating because, of course, that conjunction would have taken place in Scorpio. So it's again a cycle of empowerment. It was the same thing as Mars and the Sun also conjuncted in a Scorpio season, whereas before, 2 years prior, it was in Libra. So we can see that all these new phases are starting either in Scorpio or with regards to Pluto and the personal planets, which the conjunction will be taking place in February 2024, it's in Aquarius. So here we are, all these pathways that are opening up for us, which is about self-empowerment and liberation. And with regards to this current conjunction of Mercury and Mars that is happening in conjunction with the Sun in Capricorn, and Mercury started his retrograde in the sign of Capricorn, I think many of us are reevaluating the reality in which our life is built on, like what is our life built on, and reevaluating the solidity of that story and whether it still holds a meaning, keeps us feel empowered or disempowered, and where do we want to go from here, which is, I feel, what this Mars Mercury conjunction in conjunction with the Sun in Capricorn, it's offering to us, because of course it's in opposition with the Moon, with the full Moon in Cancer.
Yes. Yep. And there's a lot of emotions bubbling up. That's been my experience. And I feel like this is part of, it's the, reflection of this new moon that started a couple of weeks ago, where in Sagittarius, where we were really expanding what our truth is and beginning to align with that. And so there's a lot of emotion that's popping up now as we attempt to like create a new container to hold that in.
Mhm.
And it's interesting, I was noticing that this Mercury is just, hovering around the galactic center. So
Oh yeah.
we're getting this like download of information from the universe, and we're internalizing that information, which is creating this sense of expansion. And it's lining our truth up, and our perspective up with this galactic information of change. So and it's it's causing, for me, a lot of emotion to bubble up. It's not even really quite integrated yet, but I just feel like it's a really important adjustment that's happening, that we are expanding our sense of reality, our sense of truth, what it is that, we are understanding in the world as everything is beginning to change. So, yeah, I just think that it's an interesting time with this, energy to move outward and to expand where we're aligning our truth with. And I don't know if this is going to be happening through travel or just new information coming in, but it's giving our beings this opportunity to grow in our understanding. And when we can grow in on our understanding, then we can help to create that in our reality.
Yeah, and I also feel that with these trines that we actually have had happening on Christmas Day, the Mars as the ruler of the North Node making a trine to North Node, and Chiron still it's within the degree, and Venus, the ruler of the South Node and the resolution node to Pluto square, it's still just about in action. It's trine in Neptune. So this is again and obviously both of those are, Mars is in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, and then Venus as the ruler of Jupiter, so they all connected by, rulership and all this, and Venus is being ruled by Pluto. So what all this represents to me, just like you said, that there might be information coming to you with Mercury retrograde. It is an introspective process, a realization, because it's all this reevaluating, redefining with the Mercury retrograde process. Where do we want to go from here? And in order to go from here somewhere new, what do we need to leave behind? Because with this Venus being the rule of the South Node as a resolution node and making a trine to Neptune, to me is indicating that we are ready to let something go, to create the space for this something new.
Yes, absolutely. And this Venus in Scorpio and the trine is, allowing us to see how we have related to ourselves and other, what we've been attaching ourselves to is dissolving. We're having the opportunity to perhaps reattach to something else with this expansion of understanding. But what we have been attaching to and the way we've related to ourselves and to other people is getting a deep look, or getting a deep look at what that is. And I think that the trying to this Neptune is saying that this deep look is helping us to dissolve these prior attachments. Neptune is dissolving all of these, limitations that we've had. It's dissolving all of it. And at the same time, Saturn is coming along and helping us to like create. It's almost like one of the planets is ending all of the energies, all of the limitations and structures that have been in place. And that leaves us feeling really uneasy on the inside. And then you have Saturn coming up behind it, giving us the opportunity to co-create. What kind of reality are we looking to create? What is our sense of truth, and how is it that we want our reality to look for our own healing? And I think that that the Venus in Scorpio is really helping us to really look in deeply at how we have attached to this outer world and giving us the opportunity to make changes for the future.
Absolutely. And I feel that with this Uranus opposition to Venus that we had only a few days ago on the solstice day on the 21st, it might have fractured something in us. Obviously, I don't know exactly whether that situation, the tragic situation that happened in Prague, happened on that day, but there was something which caused a ripple effect again through the collective. And I'm getting goosebumps. So the spirit is confirming that this really again impacted people, that there is something that again was being shown to us, that there is something really wrong with the way how we live in, how we functioning as human being, and this disconnection from ourselves and one another, because how much pain somebody has to be in to project that pain outwardly in such a way. So I feel with this Venus in opposition with Uranus, and I know that I was talking about this, whether it was for us together or in my previous video, I felt that there probably was something going to be coming, because with the Mars Uranus opposition, there was some stirring going on in
Yes.
Scorpio season. And this is again to fracture us out of this comfort and attachment fixation that things need to stay the same. They cannot stay the same, because Venus is just about to make a sextile, closing sextile to Pluto. And Pluto is on his last degree in Capricorn. It's just about to finish. It's just about to go into Aquarius next month. So it's saying that no, this cycle is ending. Venus is ruling Uranus, is saying this is not sustainable anymore to live like this. To be in the world, in a reality that operates this way, is not sustainable, which is also what I feel this Neptune trine to Venus, and also Saturn trine in the full moon. This is what they're trying to help us to see, to understand, because it is a full moon. So things are becoming illuminated for us.
Yes. I think so. Yeah, the way that we have humanity has been surviving isn't working. It's, that patterning is coming to an end, and it's, I think, popping up in this fears and dissatisfaction in individuals, all around the world. We're experiencing it in the Middle East, and we're having to look at it. And I think that's another way that Venus is showing itself through Scorpio. We're really having to look at, the deep attachments that we have to getting our needs met, and to how we've been surviving in the world. And how it's not equal. It's not balanced. Venus in Libra wants to show balance. It wants to have a balance between ourselves and all the other people, and not everybody is thriving.
Exactly.
And so we're experiencing some shocks that have that energy behind it. We're experiencing shocks, and we're needing to change what our belief system is. And I think that has a lot to do with this Mercury and Mars in Sagittarius as well. We're having to expand what the truth is, and to internalize, like, what is our perspective in relationship to the truth that we've been following. And yes, at the same time, we're getting this like download from the universe, which is like, oh, here's some more truths to take in and chew upon.
And it's interesting to me that we still have the yacht we had before, of course, that Uranus, Neptune, and South Node, but now we have the second one between South Node, Uranus, and Mars. And it's again fascinating to me that with this clutter of planets, the leading one is Uranus, and on the opposite side of it is that South Node. So there is all this fracturing taking place in our society that is making us reprioritize and question whether this actually still holds a value, holds a meaning. Venus, like you said, she's digging it all out, all the dirt, all the darkness of human conditioning, really. It's being dug out for us to look at because South Node needs to be resolved. Pluto doesn't let us sweep it under the carpet anymore. It needs to be resolved. And it's exactly what you were saying. There is really no balance in the world at the moment.
Yeah, and Pluto is still squaring the nodes. And so with the resolution node being that South Node, where we're having to look at the past way we've related to the world outside of us. We have to look at it. We have to internalize it. We have to, see how it is that we can make changes within ourselves, North Node in Aries, and create some sort of balance, because we're clearly not in balance anymore. And things need to change. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to survive. We can no longer survive in this way. This is what Uranus is and Taurus is telling us anyway. And Jupiter there as well. We have to change the way that we think and that we believe, and what truth we are aligning with in order to move forward.
And I think this is also illuminated by the trine, what you just said, the trine between Sun and Jupiter, that's becoming exact the day later, the day after, the Sun-Jupiter trine. Like, it's illuminating us that what is this definition? Because Saturn, of course, is the ruler of Sun at the moment. Saturn now being once again direct, going forward in Pisces, revisiting the area that he already gone past twice, because forward and the retrograde. Like, does this hold a meaning, this construct of that's what I'm tapping into here, that the whole construct of the world, the construct of the reality that we are experiencing, the stories that we are attached to, that we tell ourselves, whether it's collectively or individually, like, what are the stories? And this Mercury retrograde, I think, is so profoundly important in this whole lunation, because it's conjuncting Sun and opposing the Moon, and it's saying, what is the story that you tell to yourself, which is connected to this past? Jupiter is still retrograde, still making us to reevaluate. And like I said, the new moon in Cancer was exactly with the nodes on 001 minute of Taurus Scorpio, and then we had the nodal shift. So what did we learn since July 17th? That now is becoming illuminating, and Mercury retrograde, Jupiter retrograde, that just, recently made an aspect to each other. It's saying, well, let's rethink that. Let's ask some questions, because in order for you to see the change in the world you wish to see, you need to change. And that's not just you, that's all of us, me included. We need to change. Something has to change here, because look at the state of the world. And even though we all might get triggered and say, well, it's nothing to do with me, I didn't do it, but we co-created it together as a human collective.
Yes.
So, there is a lot of that, I feel.
Yeah, and I think it has to do with, how we are aligning our truth. Our cultures are still following in this money and war and just human life having no value. And this, are we continuing to align with that? Are we continuing to support that with our actions? Because we have to at some point bring this into an individual level. What are we willing to support, and how are we going to make the changes within ourselves? Which is interesting. It's an interesting, dichotomy to make, a juxtaposition of things. Do we continue to follow the way the world has been laid out for us? All of this consumerism here as we are on Christmas Eve, doing the thing. And it's also an interesting thing. Are we celebrating this idea of, peace on earth and goodwill to men at the same time that when what we're really doing is not that? Like, it's really strange, and it feels strange inside myself. Like, I don't know. So we just pretend and put on a fake mask and say, oh yeah, Merry Christmas.
Right, and all the shopping malls with the license sales. But actually,
Yeah.
I was just like really questioning this week, and I mean, I always say that I actually don't celebrate. Like, I celebrate solstice and I celebrate nature, but and it's again, there's no right and wrong, and there is no judgment, because I'm not saying what I'm doing and how I'm living my life is correct, or what somebody else is doing is not correct. Like,
No.
peace to all. But I was actually laughing because I said that, wasn't Jesus Pisces? As far as I know, Jesus was Pisces. So he couldn't have been born now. He couldn't have been born as a Capricorn, because as far as I know, Jesus was Pisces. So I
I've
mean,
seen that
Jeshua,
actually.
right? Jeshua was Pisces. So I'm like, so then what are we really celebrating? Because as far as I was brought up as a Catholic, they said we're celebrating Jesus Christ being born, but he's Pisces. So then when was he born, right? So I mean, I don't know. I don't have all the factual data, but I'm just trying to put another hole in the whole concept of Christmas, which is that
Yeah.
we were being sold a story that is not even that old. It's not even that old. How long we've been celebrating this story, and nobody's questioning it. Is this actually based on what? What is it based on? And again, I don't want to take people's joy, because it's beautiful to celebrate and it's beautiful to share love. But what is the intention and why are we doing it? That is what is important to focus on, because of course I know that, especially for people with children, and it is about children, and it's about joy and love, and even the child in you, the childlike innocence, and that's what it's all about, and we need more of that. So if this is something that's going to create more joy and love in the world, to raise the vibration, the frequency of the world, then that's amazing, and I'm absolutely 100% up for it. But I know for many people this time of the year, it's not that. It's actually, it can be challenging, and it's in many cases it's very stressful. So this is where I feel that maybe the story needs to be tweaked a little bit. And this is just one of the examples, because of course this is, the holiday season we are experiencing, but it's one of the concepts that we are keeping going in this society. So I feel that now we enter in the times, especially with Pluto moving into Aquarius, where it's perhaps time to update all these stories, because what is the intention and what is the purpose?
Yeah. And I think this is part of this Mercury retrograde, where we're having to reevaluate, what our beliefs are, what the truth is for ourselves. And then to allow that to, be incorporated with this new container that we're creating, our sense of self, how we express ourselves in the world. And this new container as well, this huge emotions. I mean, moon in its own sign is just big, intense emotions. There's a lot of, intense emotions that are coming up right now. And it's related to the outer world that's falling apart, and the new way of trying to align ourselves. So as the old self and the old, who are we going to become
Mhm.
between this south node and this north node? We're trying to evolve to becoming more showing up to be in ourselves and change the way that we've been relating to other people in a way that creates more balance so that we can all have the freedom to do what we need to do, the things that we desire to do, yet all of us can get our needs met.
Yeah, and I think this is the sun being in its own rule, sorry, moon as the full moon in Cancer being in its own sign of rulership, being trined by Saturn in Pisces, and in natural zodiac there is the opposition between Sun and Sun as a Cancer and Cancer and Capricorn, Cancer and Saturn. So Sun currently is ruled by Saturn. So I feel this is very interesting, and also there is a sextile between Saturn and the Sun. That
Yep.
the moon is in its rulership, it's highlighting something to us. The sun is obviously in Capricorn and is ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is in Pisces. So there is this dynamic going on between the three of them, which is trying to like poke at us and saying that in order for you to become this new version of yourself and experiencing this different type of world, then there is something that needs to change. And we definitely collectively are ready for it, because the old times, the Pisces age it's culminated. Neptune is in Pisces, it's the end. Saturn is in Pisces, that's it. We have only one more retrograde of Pluto into Capricorn next year for 2.5 months. It's all culminated. Pluto is at 29 degrees. So that's why I feel that with everything that's going on, including our own emotions and feelings that are being brought up to the surface, and being the last week of this year 2023, this is a beautiful opportunity for really reevaluation, that how do you want to experience the next year, what reality do we want to help to co-create, and are we going to potentially make these different choices to then create the different outcomes, or not.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think there's definitely a relationship between the sun, Saturn energy and this moon, because, Saturn is about, emotional maturity. It's about the container to like create this emotional maturity. And we are, Pluto being at the last degree of Capricorn, we are shifting a place from having all of our responsibilities of the world, like the boundaries, the laws, the regulations, all of that, the control for our lives and how we act in the world is placed outside of us. And as a result, we have not been able to create the sense of emotional resilience that would happen from us taking care of our own needs. It's been placed outside of us. So part of what's happening is we are dissolving that connection, that outer connection, and learning to build this emotional resilience within ourselves. And at the same time, we've got this intense moon energy, which is like, whoo, here's the emotional. Sit with these emotions, sit with them. And we can't put the blame for these emotions outside of ourselves. They're actually coming from within ourselves. And the past container that we've had for dealing with that is non-existent. And so we're literally having to learn how to deal with these emotions within ourselves. And this is growth.
Exactly.
It's a growth pattern. And so the sun in Capricorn is showing us that, yes, we're going to highlight this need that we need to shift this emotional container that we've been, that we hold. We're beginning anew. We're in the early degrees of Capricorn, and we're going to be growing and experiencing this evolving sense of emotional resilience during this sun's transit through Capricorn. So I think it's an important time, and a necessary time. It's definitely a time to experience your emotions, to be able to sit with them, allow them to, so many of us through time have, learned to shove those emotions right back down because they're very uncomfortable. Using substances and however it is, whatever the addiction, to shove those emotions down. But the lesson here is to really, let's just be with our emotions, and let's see if we can't do some healing through that process.
And I think that's literally what you just described is the Neptune square, like to moon. It's still, it's out of sign, but it's still within the degree, which interestingly, we had the same thing going on with the new moon in Sagittarius. It was squared by Neptune, but
Right.
also the Pluto to Jupiter. So it's literally, to me, that's that there is this square that requires us to change something, is the crisis in action for both of them, Neptune and Moon,
Yes.
and Pluto and Jupiter. And it's saying, are we going to adjust it in a way, just like you described, escapism, disconnection, like, just numbing ourselves because we think that, this Jupiter retrograde in Taurus, the story we tell ourselves is, I can't do it. I don't know how to do it, this passing on the responsibility, which I totally agree with you, because I know that's how we were being taught also, with the Capricorn moon connection, the Saturn moon connection, which is this, well, you will never really feel that you are the authority of your life, you are in charge, until you feel emotionally safe and secure within yourself. For
Absolutely.
as long as we want someone other to keep us safe, which of course is natural as a child, and unfortunately many of us didn't have that. We weren't nurtured in a way that made us feel safe and secure, and we weren't being taught how to regulate emotions because our parents didn't know how to do it. They weren't being told. They didn't have access to the information we have now. So that's why, like, at the moment, it's so important for people to reparent themselves and give to themselves what they need, because otherwise they'll be always seeking it externally of them, and then they will never feel empowered, which is why right now it's so important, this inner work and healing, and stepping into your own emotional maturation, because it's literally, without that, it's going to be very, very challenging for the upcoming times when Pluto is in Aquarius. And Pluto will be in a masculine sign. It will be like, Aquarius is all about liberation and individuation. But in order for us to achieve that, you need to know who you are. You need to be able to stand up for yourself, because nobody's going to do it for us. I mean, Saturn is the traditional rule of Aquarius. So it's the same thing. In order for you to step into your Aquarius, you need to master Saturn. We cannot get past Saturn to get to Aquarius. We need to go through Saturn. So that's why I feel Pluto is giving us this one more break, the 2.5 months next autumn, fall, literally at the eclipse time. It's gonna be in a Capricorn in eclipse time, because we're gonna have the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces. There will not be full moon lunar eclipse in Aries this time at all, not a single one.
Oh my goodness.
Because
it's going to be in Pisces
it's gonna
at
be
the time when Pluto goes back onto 29 degrees. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So that's so interesting.
Because we don't know where we're heading. It's all culmination.
That's my moon. That's Pluto who's sitting on my sun for its last pass.
And your moon in Pisces eclipse.
And it's during the eclipse. Holy moly. Okay.
Well, you have big changes coming up next year, you know that, with your Uranus square.
Yeah. Well, and it's like we've said before, the universe gives us time to do the work. And that's the thing, is that we're all in the process of doing the work, and situations will pop up for each and every one of us that allows us the opportunity to do that work. So if during this full moon the emotions arise for you, sit with them, be with them, journal down what they're about, hug yourself, but try to allow those emotions to come to the surface so that they're not buried with inside of us. There's a lot of stuff that's trying to come out, and that is healing.
Yeah, and that's, I feel it's really necessary right now, because as I just said, majority of people didn't they didn't receive that. And that's actually what I was just talking about in the video I just recorded today about my practical application of astrology, which is why I was saying, why is it so hard for people to give to themselves what they need? And even if they do, they feel guilty about it. Like, it's just so hard for us to give to ourselves what we need, because we are being conditioned to always put someone else first. But
Yep.
then we deplete ourselves, or then we get frustrated and angry at that other person to not reciprocate. But that is the lesson of Pluto in Capricorn squaring the South Node in Libra. And I feel this is coming up more and more in people's consciousness, in their reality, where perhaps for many, many years or even decades, they took it on the chin. Like, yeah, I'm just the doormat, I'm the people pleaser, or I'm the person that always does everything for other people. But I feel the energy is not possible to carry on with anymore, because with this Pluto square in the South Node, I think these patterns are becoming very obvious to people now. I think it's also the opposition that was between Mars and Uranus in Scorpio season, now Venus and Uranus. Mars is the rule of the North Node, Venus is the rule of the South Node. So we see the two, how it shows up for us. And I feel that's why more and more people, because opposition is the illumination, like the full moon, are becoming very aware, and it's starting to really it's starting to really trigger people, that why this is always the case, why I'm always the last one. But it always comes back to Taurus. Well, do you value yourself? Do you feel you are worthy? Because these people just play their role to show you that this is what you need to do for yourself, and that is the full moon in Cancer. That is the Saturn trine in it, saying that, but you decide, like you decide. And that comes back to the child. How are you going to nurture yourself and feel safe and secure within yourself, even if everything is taken away, if everybody leaves, which is the law of impermanence taught to us by Scorpio and Pluto, nothing ever lasts forever. You are the only constant in your life. So are you making a priority of yourself in your life or not?
Yeah. Learning how to make as many of your own needs within yourself, and then your relationships can be less of a I have to, but more of I want to.
Yeah, it just creates a completely different dynamics, and that's where we're heading.
It shifts the dynamics,
That's what this eclipses in Libra are on about. These conscious relationships, we are seeding a new way of relating to one another, because the old way is win-lose. There are no winners. There are just one wins, one lose. There is always someone that has to do more and somebody that does less. And that is because of the unhealed wounding, unhealed childhood trauma, because we don't feel we deserve.
And it also has to do with the system that we've all been raised in, this patriarchal system that, places gender roles and all kinds of things where people just aren't, there's no equal, it's almost like women don't get paid to do the work that's at home that's equally as important as their husbands going out and collecting the money, taking care of the home and the children, and that kind of thing is already going out of style, because our system has now created this dynamic where the women have to work too. Now we have somebody else taking care of our children. We've got we've got systems and all kinds of things taking care of our children. And it puts a stress. Our kids aren't getting our values, they're getting the values that are out of the system. And children are going to have trouble.
That's what creates
the children are fighting it anyway. They come in, this Pluto and Capricorn generation probably aren't going to take too much of it.
Yeah, but that's exactly what creates the perpetuation of the same trauma, the lack of nurturing and complete disconnection. because there are a lot of people who they don't even know how to do things differently. Like they struggle because again they weren't being told or taught or shown. And I'm not saying this is everybody's story. This is just
No,
like generalizing. And if
yes,
people don't do the inner work on themselves, then like for example, I can observe it in my own family. You know, the way my brother and sister are raising their children, and there is a lot of subconscious patterns that are being repeated from what we experience with our parents, which is not necessarily the right thing, but it's if it's not being healed, we just keep passing it on. And
yeah,
like again, I don't want to make this sounds like I'm just like, oh, we are all screwed, we all making mistakes, and this is again something that we need to look at differently, with this Sagittarius retrograde Mercury. We need to change the narrative of that story, because we're not here to be perfect, we're here to learn. So of
yeah,
course you're not gonna get it all right the first time, because even when you were little and you tried something new, you didn't get it. You didn't know the alphabet on the first day at school, right? So this is something which we need to also heal, which is this continuous putting ourselves down and feeling that if we don't do something perfect all the time, we failed. And that just creates again this never-ending cycle of feeling guilty and ashamed and hating ourselves. So all these things are all for us to become aware, because once we become aware of something, then we can change it. Before we know it,
absolutely.
we cannot change it. So this is again not to fall into the trap of self-hate and self-judgment, because that's not the point, because that will just perpetuate the same toxic cycle that is never ending. It's more about, I didn't know that before. Well, now I do. Well done me. I noticed that. And then each time we are becoming aware, we can change it. And this is what creates the change.
Yes. Yep. And that's what I think this Venus in Scorpio is about. It's about digging some stuff up, bringing it up to the surface about how we, what our attachment, why we attach to people, how we attach to people. We're bringing this up to the surface so that we can be aware. And if there are changes that need to be made, we can make them because of our awareness instead of just blindly continuing with these subconscious drives to attach in whatever way that we do.
Yeah. And I think
Um,
that also with this square between Mercury and Neptune, number 2, there are 3 of them. This is the number 2. The first one was on a full moon in Gemini. Full moon again, interestingly. And this is, I think, what this is all about. This Mercury is retrograde from Capricorn to Jupiter, Sagittarius, and squaring Neptune for the second time, saying, is this something that is keeping us in victimhood or stuck and disempowered? Does it have a meaning? Did it lose a meaning? Or is it time to let it go? Let that story go, because it's the last quarter square, crisis in consciousness. So this is what I feel, that with this Mercury going retrograde, Mercury, even though it has nothing to do with this moon directly, because it doesn't rule the moon, but it has so much to do with it, because it's conjuncting the sun, and they just had the conjunction now this week on the 22nd. So I feel this Mercury plays a big role, because it's making us to question everything.
yeah, absolutely. And that questioning of everything is exactly how we will begin to look for growth. I mean, when you start to question things, you're bringing up, how can I do things differently? Have I done something that just wasn't in my best interest? What could I do differently? How can I adjust myself? How do I need to think differently? And I think that Mercury sitting there near the galactic center allows us to get these downloads that are aligning us more with natural law and with the truth, not as it's been prescribed by our different cultures, but by what the universe is saying to us. And I think that this is really important, because that will unlock what's already within us, because we're all just part of the universe, and help us to break free from the conditioning just before Pluto moves into Aquarius, which is where we're headed, breaking free from that conditioning. So
January 20th, right after Pluto Sun conjunction on 29 degrees and 59 minutes. That's going to be the last one in our lifetime. Pluto Sun in Capricorn, last conjunction for the rest of our lives. And that's going to be on 29 degrees and 59 minutes. I mean,
oh, what's mine? I think
great.
my birthday is 29 degrees 50, no, 10 minutes.
Yeah, because you're the day before, no? This is the 20th of January.
Yeah, I'm the day before.
Yeah.
Yep.
How blessed you are. You're gonna have the Sun Pluto conjunction on your sun.
Yeah, a little crazy, huh?
That's what I mean. Next year is gonna be special for you, Adrienne. It's gonna be a
Yeah,
special year.
I'm looking forward. The work is hard to get there, but you know, trying to figure it out.
Well, I mean, it is the year of strength, the number 8. So, you know, it's the opportunity to completely change your life, bring the abundance and whatever you want into your life. But it's still Saturn and Jupiter number 8. And
Yep.
you've done the work, you know. So that's what I feel. People who had done the work, it will be easier because now they might see the rewards of that hard work that they put into their self-growth, into their shadow work, and all these hard things that they had to overcome. And Jupiter will then reward that. But I feel that this word that you mentioned, resiliency, is very important because that's part of the growth and it's part of the strength, the resiliency. And it's also part of this full moon in Cancer, because who are you becoming?
Yeah. And resiliency, you know, only happens from doing a thing enough times to that you become proficient at it. That's where the strength comes, you know. You're not resilient necessarily doing something for the first time. Resilience comes from, you know, this, you know, emotionally accomplishing something the first time, which gives you the strength to do it again and the strength to do it again. And the accumulation of all of those strengths is resiliency. It's practice. It's the idea of practice creating your own boundaries, creating your own reality. And it's difficult when we've been allowing the boundaries to be created for us. So we're having a little, you know, one step at a time.
That's very Virgo. It's
Very
literally
Virgo.
what you just described, you know, because that's why it's the grand earth trine, you know, the Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, because it's like recognizing your strengths and your self-sufficiency, your self-reliance. Then go and work on it with Virgo. You try, you fail, you try again, and eventually you master it. And that's Capricorn, self-mastery. So it's the hero's journey. It's the hero's journey. Nobody was born to avoid it. We all came here to participate.
No, we all came here definitely to get on that journey.
Absolutely. Wow, I feel this is such a powerful chart.
It is. It definitely is. I mean, there's, I'm sure, more we can extract from here, but these are the things that I definitely saw pop out. I noticed that we lost one of the finger of gods. We had 2 during the new moon. Now it's back down to the one that we've had for quite a while.
But now is the second one is kind of forming, no? Like, oh no, it's too far.
One of them's got that sesquisquadrate.
Oh, but it's the Uranus South Node and Mars. Uranus South Node and Mars.
Yeah.
And kind of, I don't know, like whether they allow the 4 degrees from.
Yeah, they must not with an inconjunct, because otherwise it would be in there. I don't see it.
But to me, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's close for sure.
Blind spot is there for sure, you know, like with this And I really like the Mars trine to Chiron and North Node conjunction. That is really, really supportive in this process, and obviously all that being part of this, on the top of each other, Mars to Mercury and then Mercury to the Sun. So I really feel that this is a supportive process, and whatever we are going through, however challenging, it is still supporting us in where we headed, even though it
Yes,
makes no sense to us right here, right now, because maybe the ego cannot compartmentalize, because it's like, well, you step into unknown. I have no previous experience. What do you want me to do? I'm trying to keep you protected and help you to survive based on the data from the past. But
yeah,
I really feel with this Chiron North Node conjunction that's going to take place in February, alongside with all the Pluto and personal planets conjunction, I feel this February is going to be a huge month because of everything that's brewing for that month.
yeah,
There's going to be then the new phase between Chiron and North Node, and I think that will really signify that more and more people will be ready to step into the unknown.
step into that new direction. I mean, I don't think there'll be, we'll have to. That might be the doorway.
Yeah, and I mean it's it's the Aquarian season, isn't it? Like Aquarian and then going into Pisces. So I mean it's the season of liberation and letting go. So yeah, I just and of course, Cancer, well, Capricorn, because we Capricorn season, and then the Pisces, there is a sextile, so it's a support. So
Yep.
I again, as always, feel that things are building up for what yet to come, because it's that never-ending story that there is no beginning, no end. There is always a follow-up story. So I feel that right now what we're experiencing is preparing us for that Aquarius Pisces season.
Yep. And by then, I think it's the 13th of January, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember. I looked up a little while ago that Pluto will finish its square to the nodes. And it's
Yeah, I
been
think
square to the nodes for a long time, because it was square to the nodes even when the nodes were in Scorpio and Taurus.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I
And
think the next moon will be the last one. Yeah, the new moon in Capricorn on the 11th.
and that's resolving of that skip step. We'll be ready to integrate that north node right in time for Chiron to line up with it. And I think that hopefully we will have, done the work and, made the changes that are necessary in the way that we have related to the world outside of ourselves, so that we are free literally to step into those new roles as Pluto moves into Aquarius and the node Chiron conjunct will be definitely starting this energy to begin something new. And it'll be a little scary,
For
but that's
sure.
okay. We
Yeah. I'm literally just calculating that it's gonna happen, with the new moon in Capricorn, which we have the two of next year, first one and last one. So new moon in Capricorn, we are seeding a new definition of the internal authority, hopefully. But as you said, it's gonna be the last square from Pluto to the node, and then we're gonna have Venus in Sagittarius trining the north node. So, like you said, that
yeah,
Pluto is just going to resolve. We're going to be resolving the south node. And I feel why is that? Because the last time we had Chiron trine from Venus was in Leo season, when Venus was retrograde, and she was trining Chiron 3 times. I remember that because there were these multiple aspects between Venus and Jupiter, Uranus, and Chiron because of her back and forth in Leo. And it's really, and again, Leo, right after the nodes just shifted, they just shifted in July.
right.
So I feel it's fascinating that we're going to have the last square from Pluto to the south node. Venus is moving into Sagittarius, which is where we just have all this going on now with this Mars and Mercury trying to Chiron and North Node. And then Venus is going to try North Node. So it's like, okay, we're ready. We're ready to go. North Node trine, from Venus, the ruler of the South Node. So yeah, that's why all this stuff is coming up right now, because
Yep.
from January onwards, Pluto is gonna move into Aquarius. We going forward.
Yep. Yep. It's time to step into our place of authenticity and really to discover what that is, I think.
Well, and that's what this full moon in Cancer is helping us with, because it's illuminating to us who we really are and how do we feel
Yep.
about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, absolutely. So I find it to be exciting. And also a little bit intense. Like I said to you earlier, I just have had a big emotional day. And it took somebody else pointing out, isn't the moon going to be in Cancer? I was like, oh yes. Ah, of course. Of course.
So yeah, it's emotions are energy, emotion, right? They just want to be released. It's good. It's good to feel emotions, because the
Yeah, it
other
is.
side of it is this complete detachment and disconnection.
Yeah. And I feel like, it was like definitely like you were saying earlier, like the mourning of the old self that is just getting ready to go away. I'm just mourning that. And, I've been that self for a long time. So, and that's how it felt, and I also was like, oh, I don't even really know who I am. And that was making me cry more, just made me sad.
Because you are
So,
just birthing the new version of yourself. It's literally the trine to the North Node and the Chiron and North Node. Is
yeah,
this insecurity to go? Because you see, I was just actually speaking about that to someone the other day. I said it's like the Stockholm syndrome. When you are being in this prison for so long and they let you out, you want to go back in, because like, what do you want me to do with all this freedom? So I feel in
right.
essence that's what we are all going, well, not everyone, again, let's not generalize. This is what many people are going through. It's like the Stockholm syndrome, that we got so used to this, then it's like, well, I don't know what else to do now. I don't know who I am outside of this definition.
Yeah,
And it's when even I mean, I haven't had the personal experience in this life, not so far anyway, but when people are being let out of prison, they are so insecure, because like, I mean, many of them, because they don't know who they are. What is my role anymore? Like,
exactly.
especially if they spent many years being in that situation. So in a sense, this is what it is, that we need to learn to walk again.
Yeah, definitely step by step. It's just like being a baby, just starting building that sense of self, you know,
And
Capricorn.
that's why it's Aries, because it's like a child, you learning from the
Yeah,
scratch.
exactly. Um, and that's good. I mean, it's kind of exciting that I get to build myself to to whoever I want to be.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean,
So,
it doesn't matter how old or how young you are, but when you get this another chance for life, like, I
no,
remember how many people I read stories when people like are on their deathbed and stuff, and the only thing they regret is what they haven't done. Nobody ever regretted what they did. They just regret, I wish I did more. you know
yeah,
so I mean, it's in a sense. And you're not the first one. I had another one, another client recently in the golden stage in age in their life, older than you, and they said that, well, I don't know what I want. I'm like, well, but it's a good place to be, because it can be anything you choose. It can be
that's it.
whatever you choose. So, and this is also the Capricorn, that like, you have to have the emotional maturation and the sense of self, the responsibility to the because whatever choice you make, it's going to have a consequences. Positive, negative, doesn't matter, but to be brave to make that choice, because you'll be able to handle it, because it's the
Yeah,
trying to Taurus. You have that within you to handle whatever life throws at you, because if you didn't have it in you, you wouldn't be here having that experience.
that's absolutely true. It's instinctual to be able to handle what life throws at you.
And this is something also what I shared recently. that whatever ego mind wants and higher self wants might not necessarily be the same thing.
No,
So
it
our
might not.
ego mind is like scared of this unknown, and our higher self is like, finally, something new to explore.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Do we have any final thoughts, or we wrap this up?
No, I mean, that's what I see happening, you know, this opportunity to begin aligning with this new sense of self, you know, and to, you know, take the initiative to um change our thoughts, to align with what's coming through for us individually, and yeah, to really look deeply at how we relate to other people and incorporate those patterns of relating that need to change, because it hasn't been healthy for us. And yeah, continue that journey towards growth of our being our true selves. That's the goal.
Yes, because the number 8 in tarot represents the strength, and the strength is the Leo, and the Leo is the authentic self, is the
Mm,
self-actualization and the purpose, your purpose. And you're only ever going to find it when you know who you are, your authentic self. It's gonna lead you right to it. So just follow the flow of life. It will not sway you wrong.
no, it'll definitely bring you there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for hanging
Yeah,
out with me on Christmas Eve.
yeah. Here, I'm going to take this chart down. There we are.
Always a pleasure. So I know you've been experiencing some challenges with your social media, but
Oh
where
my
can people
gosh.
find you these days?
Yep, yep. I got hacked, and so I don't have my Facebook account right now. I'm still working on trying to recover it. But until then, I think that people can reach out to my Instagram account. That's where I will post this recording, and that is at Natural Yogini 1.
Mhm.
And then also you can reach out at my email,
Heart rate.
heartplace@peoplepc.com.
Excellent. I will
And I'm going to work on getting my social media together. And hopefully here very soon, my website should be up, and that'll make it all easier.
exactly. Excellent. Thank you, Adrienne. That was a
Well, thank you,
pleasure.
Mila.
Always nice to connect, and I know we'll be connecting very soon in
Oh,
person.
yeah.
Excited.
Just a few weeks, huh?
Yeah, we only have one more lunation, the new moon in Capricorn, and that's it. Then you come, and
Yep.
you'll be here for the next one after
Yep.
that. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you for listening, and
Yep.
we'll see you again next time.
Yep.
Thank you.